Hello there people, this is Christian. Welcome back to my computer and Fusion 360. As a little video on some small things about sketches. First of all, this sketch is done as a demonstration of some of the problem within sketches we can end up, and the basic idea that there's too much going on in one sketch here, so this is like a really bad sketch. What I want to show you is some of the techniques I use to try to understand some of my own old work where I did really bad sketches, or if I download a file from the internet for some like the official forum or Reddit or a Facebook group where I want to see what people are trying to do. And sometimes people do these really messy sketches, or for some reason, sometimes you need to do things in a sketch. We like to do patterns like, you can see there is a circular pattern here. We like to do this with features, not inside the sketch. But this sketch is just for the fun of it and doing a bit of an overloaded sketch. So let's do edit sketch. And we end up with this mess with a lot of constraints, and some things have no constraints at all, like this line here. If I click this line, what's going on? Where does this line come from? There are no constraints, there are no dimensions. How does this line exist? And it's really hard to find what is driving what inside the sketch. Can be the same thing in a simpler sketch, but in this case I have overloaded obviously up here with constraints. We have this like the symmetry, which are mirror constraints. The symmetry and mirror is the same in sketches basically. And we have like here we have two patterns on top of each other, which makes it really hard to select. So I want to edit one of these patterns. One of course is a circular pattern, there's a hexagons, one is a linear pattern, there's also circles down here. I already know it because I made the sketch. But let's say I have problems. I open this sketch, somebody else has made this design, and I want to find out what's going on, and this is a mess. So step one I like to do, the important part which you need to turn on after again, that's show profiles. You get this flashing going on if you move a cursor over, so I'd like to turn off show profiles. Stops the flashing, but we really need to remember to turn it on again, because if show profiles are off, we can't do extrudes, revolves, whatever we do, because there are no profiles within the sketch. They disappear. So it's not only a visibility, it turns off the profiles. Second thing, to clean up thing, show dimensions off, show constraints off. And we're only left with lines. Slightly looks like when we have done a finished sketch and are outside of a sketch, we don't see any constraints, but we're still in edit sketch mode. It means we're talking about this line here. What is driving this line here? Now we can click the line, and the constraints that are connected to the line will pop up. So this line here is driven by this rectangular pattern. And now I can double click it. I can edit the pattern. I can see that it starts with this object. It's 4 times down and so forth. And as I said earlier, let's turn on the constraints again. We had two constraints on top of each other here. In this case, two circular patterns, a circular pattern and a rectangular pattern. And the icons are on top of each other. Gonna hide the constraints again. Let's say I want to edit the constraint with these hexagons. I can click on any line in one hexagon. I will see the constraint. And now I can double click it and find the constraint I want to edit, or whatever there is. And of course we zoom in closer to this thing in the middle. We can have a look. So there's these lines here. What's driving these? By clicking here, you can say, okay, that is a mirror of something. And one thing you can also see here, you can see the ends of these lines, you see points. That's because Fusion is also mirroring the points. So it means that the line without any points, this one here, is most probably the one that everything starts with, and that makes logic sense. If you look at the constraints here, we can say we have like this. You can see this slightly highlight if you move the cursor over them, see what's going on. So this is mirrored in that direction, but there's one more. So there's something going on with this line. Oh, we have another mirror constraint here, and so forth. Another thing that sometimes is you want to find out, let's highlight this circular pattern. You can see if I move a cursor over, this is the same, and if you have any type of panel, you can see there's a slight change of color for hexagon. If you switch your environment to River Rubicon at the bottom, I think sometimes easier to see things. I can now highlight this. If I move a cursor over, you can see the change color to bright blue. And this sometimes also, of course, makes us see something with where we have a dimension. The dimension turns green in Rubicon. It's a bit confusing. A lot of color changes that we are normally referenced to not constrained or fully constrained lines. In this case, all lines are white. They're no longer black when we are fully constrained. So by doing this, we can have a look at what things are built up from. You can see the different constraint pops up as we move around, like this line here. It can become a bit hard to see. We have a dimension that's of course from this point to this point in the horizontal direction, and we have a little faint down here, parallel constraint down here that's connected. So this line here is parallel to that line. That line is driven from a symmetry constraint here, or a mirror from this line here. And this line here is driving some other lines, but it's really based from this line here. I know the sketch is really stupid. I just wanted to show you how you can a bit easier see and find constraints. Once again, I happen to click on one of the light of a hexagon and the circular pattern pops up. Click outside and everything disappears. So let's once again turn on constraints, dimension, and profiles. And this is one of the things I don't like with River Rubicon, is that the profiles get really flashy sometimes here. Sometimes it's turned white too for some reason, stuff like that. But anyway, I hope this can be useful for you. So that's it. Take care, see you around, and goodbye.